Hello, everybody. You are live watching the Shit Talking podcast. I'm your co host, Christina.
And I am your co host, Robin. And we're talking about being nice girls today.
No, not nice girls, because we're not nice girls. Let's face it. And anybody who likes this show, I'd venture to guess you're probably not a nice girl either. And that's why we love you. But it's actually like the idea of being nice, right? And I feel like, I brought up this topic because it's something that's been popping up in my universe more recently. And I want to know, why is it so important for us to be nice all the time?
I think that's how we're socialized. You know what I mean? Society says to us, we have to be nice. Like, you have to be nice. When you grow up, people are constantly telling you to be nice. So I think that, in other cultures or other societies, it's not so much about being nice, but, there's more of an influence about being direct and saying what you mean. I find it interesting that sometimes when I interact with people from other countries, they're a lot more direct than we are.
Really?
And I think so. And sometimes I wonder if it's a language barrier, like maybe you didn't translate that correctly, what you were saying. But I think sometimes it's very direct because that's just what they're taught. Say what you mean what you say. You don't need to tap dance around it. So I do think that it can be societal a little bit, that we're just groomed of you must be polite and you have to be diplomatic. And how do you say this with diplomacy? You know what I mean? I don't know if other places people are taught that.
Well, let me tell you the more recent event that happened that had me really thinking about it. So we have somebody in our office who is, I don't want to say she's a receptionist, but she fields all of the incoming calls. And I had the occasion to secret shop her. And she did fine, but there was definitely room for improvements. So I had a coaching call with her. And I recorded the call. I had her listen to it. And then I started out with, asking her what she felt was good about the call, what maybe needed improvement. And then, of course, I gave her my feedback. And I think she was completely mortified by the whole thing. Like, she just immediately, and she was appropriate. I don't mean this in a bad way. Like, she wasn't disrespectful in any way, but she just seemed like immediately defensive, like immediately on the defense about explaining herself, explaining what she did wrong. And I tried to tell her several times throughout the conversation, like, look, this isn't meant to be an attack on you. There's always room for improvement. All of us, myself included. And the only way that you're going to get really good at these and improve is for us to do things like this. For me to listen to your calls, for us to role play, for you to listen to your calls. And let's talk about what you could have done better on the call. But I felt like the entire tone of the entire conversation was all about her defending, why she said that or why she did this and why that happened and why that happened. And it was, I got the feeling like, why does she expect that nobody's ever going to offer any constructive criticism? And it's not just her, so I'm not singling her out. Like, I think everybody does this. You're a business owner. I'd like to know what the other ladies on here think, who have been in sort of a position of authority. Why is it that when you approach an employee about something that, I'm not going to sugarcoat it here because we don't need to, something they did wrong, they're immediately defensive, as though you're not supposed to say anything. And so that's what had me thinking about this be nice bullshit. Like, how does that work?
Well, I think there's a fine line, right? And when we started thinking about this topic, I immediately thought about the book, Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. And I think that's probably why I started this out talking about being nice girls, because I was looking at this nice girls don't get the corner office. And in my mind, the title of the book was The Bitch Gets the Corner Office. I looked up the wrong book because that's not a real book.
Well, but that should be a book.
Right? I was like, they absolutely titled this book incorrectly. Like, who does get the corner office? But I think that there's a fine line between work and life. I think it's one thing to be nice in your personal life and one thing to be nice around, family and friends. But I tell people all the time, there is a work Robin and there's a personal Robin. And sometimes they're two different people. And sometimes work Robin isn't so nice, although I think I'm delightful all the time. But all the time. But I think when it comes to that I try to do things in ways that are not offensive. And I think there's a difference between being offensive and being worried about being nice, right? So yes. I'll try to do things that aren't offensive. So even when I am giving constructive criticism at work, because I personally think we are doing people as employers, hear me out, guys. I think that we're doing our employees a disservice if we don't criticize them in a constructive way. If we don't offer feedback on their work, because they're going to think they're doing things right. They're going to end up pissing me off. And then eventually they just get fired and they don't understand why. Or they go over to another employer and they don't know what the hell to do. You know what I mean? So I think that many times I couch my constructive criticism by saying, this is not a criticism of you. This is meant to be constructive so that you can learn from this situation. And then sometimes that's taken better, but some people are just freaking sensitive. Like they're just way too sensitive. I don't know. That's my opinion about it. Because my point is, if you say something to somebody, and it doesn't matter what you say to them, they're always going to be offended, then I think that that's a problem. But I do think, in a work context, you do kind of have to be somewhat diplomatic. I don't hear you, Christina.
Thank you.
There you go.
So as an employer, why do I even have to preface a coaching conversation or, just a management conversation with that kind of talk? Like, I mean, why don't I just put them on my lap and stroke their hair? Because that's what I feel like I have to do. And, it's like you're at work, you are a grown ass woman or a grown ass man. Why do I need to stroke you and massage you before I give you constructive criticism or tell you that you fucked up?
What kind of office are you running with all this stroking and massaging?
Well, I of course, I'm exaggerating. This is how I feel about it because I'm like you, there's a work Christina and a personal Christina. Personal Christina is bitchy. Work Christina is just more bitchy.
Okay. All right. I like it. I mean, I don't think that you have to coach it, or couch it in these coddling terms. I do, however, think that there's a difference between being to the point and being blunt and being abusive. You don't have to be abusive to your employees. And I think especially in a law firm context, we've all dealt with abuse. We have all dealt with partners that are just fucking assholes for no reason. Like, you don't need to speak to me that way. You don't need to yell at me like I'm a child. You don't need to call me an idiot or stupid or a moron. So I think that there is a fine line, but I don't necessarily think there always has to be coddling. I just know that for me in my work environment, I want it to be a place where open communication and learning is encouraged. That's the environment that I want. So I think for that reason, I always want people to know what I'm saying to you is not meant to abuse you. I don't want you to take it that way. I'm not trying to say that you're stupid. I'm not calling you an idiot. I'm telling you this because I want you to learn, and that's important to me. And I want you to be your best self.
Yeah, I mean, you should always be respectful. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think the problem that I see, at least for me, and you guys, as usual, tell me if you disagree, or maybe if I just need to adjust my perspective. But I feel like a lot of people think that if you are telling them anything, even remotely negative, like, hey, you really did a pretty shitty job on that phone call, of course, would say it much nicer than I am right now. They just interpret that as criticism. It doesn't matter how you put it. They don't want to hear anything negative. And that's where I think I have a problem. And I think a lot of people will interpret that as, oh, well, she wasn't being very nice to me. No, I was being nice to you. You just didn't want to hear what I had to say because I wasn't patting you on the head and telling you what a great job you did. I pointed out to you where you didn't do a great job and where you needed to improve, and you didn't want to hear it.
Well, nobody wants to hear that they suck, right? Like, it doesn't matter how nicely you say it or whether there is a stroking and massaging of employees, as it were, nobody wants to hear that they suck. So even if you say it really nicely, even if you go, you really could have done some things better on this call, and we're just going to go through for coaching what you could do better. Like, it doesn't matter how nicely you said it, Christina, there was still going to be defensiveness because nobody wants to be told that they did something poorly. I don't think it matters whether it's at work. I mean, maybe if you have an employee that really just doesn't give a shit about their work product, they'd be like, yeah, I know the call sucked and I really don't care. But for the most part, people do think, I hope, that they're putting their best foot forward. And when they're told, I think you got a better foot than that, sometimes that can be hurtful. I just think they just need to get the fuck over it. That's my
exactly.
thing.
I'm so glad you said
you're at
that.
work.
Yes. But see, that's what I don't get is who goes through life believing that they are never going to get any constructive feedback. Or that's what I refer to as nice criticism. Like, not mean. Criticism to me is like mean, like, wow, you really did a shitty job on that phone call. I mean, God, my dog could have done a better job. Like, that's just mean and disrespectful, and it's not constructive at all. But right. I feel that constructive criticism is, hey, let's go over your phone call. I want to support you in having the best calls that you can possibly have. So let's go over your call and let's talk about what you did that was really great and what needs improvement. That is right. Exactly word for word what I said and what I would say. So if anybody thinks there was anything that could be better about what I just said, please let me know. I want to hear it. And to answer
Lisa from the Peanut Gallery, can we just talk about what she's saying? Because she said people who are defensive when receiving negative feedback either don't trust the person providing it and or have some type of trauma that makes them defensive. And I think that that's very true because, in your case, I don't know how long this employee has been with you, or maybe if, you have a reputation in the office of being like, well, Christina's such a bitch. So she thinks whatever you say is going to be bitchy. But it could just be that she has past experiences of being criticized. So even though you said it in a really nice way, she didn't interpret it how you gave it because of past things that happened to her,
Yeah, I mean, and to answer your question, she's new and she's very positive. We really like her. She's got a great energy. It's just that she's new. She's still training, So, and I know a lot of employers that would really just be too uncomfortable having a conversation with her to tell her like, hey, I listened to your call and there's some things I'd really like you to work on so that the calls could be a little better. They would be too uncomfortable to say that to her. So what would happen is she would continue to do it wrong. And, we can assume that is affecting your business because she's the first person that people talk to. Right? They don't get a good impression. They don't get a good impression of us. Who's to say that they're even going to call back again?
Well, here's the thing. And I think that when it comes back to why we have this obsession with being nice, I think that when you become an employer, and this is something I had to struggle with as well. I haven't been in business for myself as long as you have. So it takes me a little bit more time, I think. But I think I had to struggle with your employees don't have to like you. They really don't. I mean, it's nice if they do. It's nice if everyone gets along. It's nice if they think that you're great. But, it's not your job to be friends with your employees. It's not your
Yes.
job for them to like you. It's your job to run a business. So, like I said, and maybe this was the way I had to coach the psychology in my head of doing this, is that if I am not giving you the criticism, if I'm not giving you the feedback that you need, if I'm not giving it to you straight, if you're doing something wrong and I'm too scared to tell you that you're doing it wrong for fear that it's not going to come off nice or you're not going to like me, I'm not only doing a disservice to my business, I'm doing a disservice to you because I'm letting you go through the world sucking. And I don't want to do that. I want everybody to be the best person they can be, whether it's at my firm or whether it's somewhere else. And I've had this conversation with employees where I've said, if I'm not teaching you, then even once you leave here, I'm doing you a disservice. You need to go into the world and be a lawyer. You need to lawyer it up, whether you're lawyering with me or lawyering someplace else. And if I'm not teaching you and I'm not training you, then I'm not only hurting me, I'm hurting you. So if I really want to be nice, I do need to tell you when something sucks. I do need to say this brief is not good enough. I do need to say, you know what, if you want to be in customer service or client intake or whatever it is that this front woman, if this is what you're trying to do, there are things you could do better so you could be even better at this job. Then I'm helping you. So I'm helping you by telling you you suck.
I agree. And I want to comment too on something that Stephen said a few times. It is that everyone expects constructive criticism, but no one wants to hear it. And I think that's absolutely true because it's uncomfortable, right? But the thing is, if you cannot accept any constructive criticism, then you are putting yourself in a position where you can't ever learn and grow and improve. So yes, it's uncomfortable. I mean, even now, I want constructive feedback, but yeah, sometimes when you have to hear like, oh gosh, I just read that blog you wrote and it wasn't very good. Or, I think you got something wrong in there. Like, yeah, I don't want to hear that. I want praise all the time, but that's just not life, people, right? It's not life. We're not going to do everything right. We're not great at everything. When we're learning something, we're not going to be great at it right away. There's going to be things that we need to hear so that we can be better. And I do welcome that. It's a little painful, right? When you're first hearing that it wasn't the best, it wasn't your best product or, your best effort, but I still want to hear it because it's what's going to make me better. And so I would say to people that if you can't hear that, you're kind of destined to just always be mediocre.
Well, I think that it probably, and I say this often because for those of you who don't know Christina personally, you do a lot of learning. You learn about yourself, you learn about the world, you learn about business, you learn about, all sorts of things. For those that haven't been with us for this whole ride, we started out together talking about books. Over the summer, we would talk about all of the books that we read and the best part of the book and what we learned from the book. So you are a very learned person. And I say that not just to praise you, but also because it probably took you a while to get where you are, to that place where you crave the constructive criticism. But I think that's because you've learned enough to know that if you don't grow and you don't learn about yourself and you don't get that feedback, you are destined for mediocrity. And who wants that? So,
yeah. And even if it's not mediocrity. I'm sorry, what was that?
I just think it takes a while. It takes a while, to get to it, because I feel the same way. I want the constructive criticism. Peanut Gallery, if you think this show sucks, tell us it sucks so we can make it better. If you think, hey, it's, we would like you to do different topics, or we think it's too long, tell us. We want that feedback because that's going to make things better. And I think we take that into our whole lives, whether it's our work or the other activities that we're doing, because, if other people don't come in and tell us, I think you could probably do this better. Robin, I think you should wear less Mr. T bling, whatever it is.
No, we love your Mr. T bling.
Well, thank you. But tell us that because, that's helpful. And you don't have to take every criticism that you get, shut up, John, the show doesn't suck.
The show sucks, yet he is still here. So what does that say about you, John?
He's here week after week. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I do think it probably took you a while to get where you are, but it's good that you're there.
Yes, and I want to say too, about I said the expression that, people are destined to be mediocre if they can't hear constructive criticism. And mediocre is, everybody's got their own definition of what that is. But regardless, if you have goals and you can't hear any kind of instruction or feedback on how you're doing, maybe you're trying to learn how to play an instrument, or you're trying to build a business, or, something like that, get better at a sport. How are you ever supposed to get better or reach a goal if you don't hear what, someone else, like a coach, has to say to you about what you might be doing wrong that's impeding your growth? So I do think that generally people who go looking for coaching and personal development kinds of venues, they accept that they're going to have to hear some criticism at some point. Right. But it's meant to be helpful. It's meant to get them past a block so that they can move forward.
I get it. I know I feel the same way, but I do think it's just tough. It's really tough. I even know for myself, it's tough. If somebody tells me that I did something, especially if I thought I gave it like my best, and they go, this really wasn't good enough, that's really hurtful. But you got to get over it.
Yeah, you got to get over it.
You that for a reason. And I think, what you just put up about intent versus impact and all of that does make a difference. If somebody's coming to you with good intentions, I'm telling you this because I want you to be the best person you can be. I'm telling you this because I want you to write the best blog you can write. It's going to be received differently than a person that is coming at you maliciously just to hurt you. Just to say, oh, by the way, you think that was a good blog. It wasn't, and you suck. I mean, that there's always going to be a difference there.
Yeah, like for instance, I'm writing a book, and I'm going to farm it out to some friends to give me some feedback. And Robin, you will be getting one. So I want to tell you that I am sending it to you because I want feedback. I'm not looking for you or anyone else to say, wow, Christina, that was so great. You're going to kill it, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to hear that. I want you to tell me, does this suck? Would you buy this book? Did you get anything out of it? What did you like about it? What do you think that I need to work on to revise? And yes, John, you will get a draft. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sending it to you. So I really don't want to hear like, oh, it's really good, Christina, especially if it's not. And I think a lot of people, like, let's say I say, hey, look at this dress. Do you like it? How do I look? I feel like most people are just going to be like, oh, yeah, it looks really great, even if it doesn't. And I'm the type of person, if I ask you, it's because I really want to know. So if I look ridiculous in this dress, you better tell me. Do not let me go out in public wearing that thing.
Well, we also got a comment in our peanut gallery that was similar to something that we had said, which is that, we're so worried about how recipients are receiving the information, right? But that's kind of on them, and how others feel or respond should not really be our main objective or concern. And I kind of agree in a way. Like we said that from the very beginning. Yes, you have to take this constructive criticism, and yes, you may just need to get the fuck over it. Like I can't be concerned about your sensitivities because sometimes things need to be said, and they need to be said directly. And I also think that sometimes it's harmful when we're trying to be overly diplomatic or tiptoe around things or not be as direct, because then that's how miscommunication happens. I remember having an employee, and we brought this employee in for a review, and the employee was just not very good. She just wasn't. But we were trying to come up with, a performance improvement plan for her. And we gave her this review and told her all of the things that we disliked. And she left the review like happy and smiling, like, thank you guys so much. That was awesome. And literally, I said to my partner, I said to Liz, I go, maybe we were too positive because I don't think she gets that we thought she sucked. Like, I don't think she got it because we were so focused on like surrounding this thing in positivity of like, you're really great at this, although you don't know anything about the law, but we love your personality. Like everything was like compliment, criticism, compliment. We were doing like the sandwich of like, let me give you a compliment and the criticism and then another compliment so that she didn't feel bad about herself. But sometimes it's freaking overkill because I really think she left and did not realize that was a negative review.
Well, she probably did if she left all happy. I mean, not that you want them leaving crying, but it does make you wonder, you know, did they take it seriously? And they call that the sandwich method. That's what I've heard it referred to as, where when you have criticism, you're supposed to say something positive first, and then you offer the criticism, and then you follow it up with something positive. But honestly, I just like, why do we have to do that? I mean, because you're right, stuff like that happens and they don't get it. And if they're not really appreciating the gravity of what you're telling them, are they going to do better? I mean, a while back had to have a conversation with somebody and that I had spoken to this person numerous times about the very same thing. Mm-hmm. And I was getting really tired of repeating myself. And I was starting to feel like almost a certain level of disrespect. Like how many times do I have to tell you not to do that? Mm-hmm. You know, are you not getting it, or do you just not care? Because either one is a problem. And if you're going to have to keep doing it, at what point are we done here?
Yeah.
So I got the feeling that I was not impressing upon her enough that this is really important. Like, I'm not asking you to do it. You need to do it. It's part of your job. So we had to have a conversation with this person, and I did not do sandwich method. It was like, I said, I've talked to you about this numerous times. It's still happening. I don't really know how to impress upon you that it's important and it needs to be done. And if this continues, if this happens again, we don't have a place for you here. Which is a nice way of saying you're going to get shit canned.
Yeah, I mean, I've had these conversations. No, I've had these conversations with my business coach about having repeat conversations. And she said the same thing, is that there needs to be a consequence. So if you're saying, I need you to do this, and you feel like you're constantly repeating yourself again and again and again, they're going to have to understand, look, this is not negotiable. These things need to happen. And if that's something that you cannot perform, then this is what's going to happen, whether it's you get written up, whether it's, I just take you to the back of the building and beat the shit out of you. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? But they need to know something is going to happen. And maybe that something is you don't have a place here anymore. And maybe that's just what it is.
Yeah, I've heard that from coaches too, is that there should be a consequence, but that's where I get a little fuzzy. What's the consequence supposed to be? I mean, and I know there's people on here that have management roles. What's the consequence? I mean, I don't like to have to immediately go threaten them that they're going to get fired. I think that's almost abusive. But isn't that kind of isn't that just sort of, that should kind of be assumed, is that if you keep screwing up, that eventually you're going to get fired. So you shouldn't even have to say that. But what's the consequence? Is getting written up, whatever that is that enough of a consequence?
I mean, I've written up an employee. And I mean, I don't think any employee likes getting written up, has to, sit in my office as I go through the write-up of what they did wrong that they now have to sign, and that's going in their personnel file, which is really just my locked file cabinet, because that's all it is. But it's going in their file that they got written up on this day. But, I think that the reality is it is putting them on notice. And it might not be, a tangible consequence, something that you feel, but it's putting you on notice that I'm really serious about this. Like this is not something that I'm going to just keep saying again and again and again. And now I'm putting it in writing, which I think to anybody with any form of intelligence, they know that may then lead to termination. That's what happens. If you keep getting written up, you're going to get fired. If I think that this is serious enough that I'm taking time out of my day with my long ass claw-like fingernails to type up in writing the ways in which you fucked up, then I think you now know it's serious.
Yeah. And so Lisa brings up a good point. She says that you should ask them what they heard you say. That has a name. I can't remember what it's called. Active listening, I think it's called. Where you, and they actually recommend this in all kinds of relationship, is ask them to repeat what, or, to kind of summarize the conversation, which I think is really good, because then they turn it back on you and you get to hear, how do they understand what you just said?
I mean, I think that is a good idea. A lot of times I feel like, the summary may just be, I think, Robin, what you're saying is get your shit together. Because I feel like most of the conversations I'm having at work, the sum of it would be, so everybody, let's get our shit together. Like, we need to get it together. You know what I mean? But I do think that that's a very good strategy, because in that conversation, and it still boggles my mind now, because I'm thinking back to what we said to this woman. I go, how did she think this was positive? But that would have been really helpful to say, like, let's summarize. Like, let's go back. What did you take away from this meeting? And if she goes, I took away that I'm awesome and you guys love me, I'm like, okay. So I think we need to go back. We need to go back over this again, because that's not what we were saying. I mean,
yeah, I like that.
I think we talk a lot about our roles of trying to be nice at work, but what about in personal life? Because you said, and I'm not going to let you get over this, you said, I'm a bitch in my personal life and I'm just more of a bitch at work. So do you think that in your personal, because I definitely think personal Robin is much more concerned with being nice than work Robin, like 100 times more concerned with being nice.
I have to think about that for myself. I think somebody had mentioned it. I don't know who it was. Just about being very direct. I'm very direct, and I don't really sugarcoat things. I'm not sure I know how to do that. And I think sometimes my delivery could be a little softer.
Okay.
So to answer your question, I think sometimes I can be abrasive to people. I think people perceive me that way. And it's not because I intend to be that way. It just seems to be the way that I talk and the way that I approach things. And I'm very direct and I don't really beat around the bush. Some people just don't really like that. And I really can't be friends with people who are very sensitive.
Do you worry about if people like you? Like, if somebody says, I really don't like Christina, is that bothersome to you?
No, I mean, I'm not going to say that. I don't care if people like me. I mean, anybody who says that is lying. We all care a little, at least a little, if people like us. But I wouldn't say that I'm overly concerned with that. If someone doesn't like me, then, I'm sorry to hear that, but it just is what it is. Everybody is not going to like us. It's impossible. So, there's people that think I'm great and people that don't, and it's okay. That's just how it is.
As a person that everyone likes, because everyone likes me, it's not possible to dislike me. But I do think I am, and this is something I'm working on actually as I get older. I am very concerned with being liked. And this is why I had to have the conversation in the work context, not to bring it back there, of like, it doesn't matter if your employees like you. That's not your job. Like, your job is to be an employer and to be their boss. That's their job. But I think in my personal life, I definitely want to be liked, which is why I feel like I'm much nicer sometimes than I should be. I am, and I'm probably using the word wrong, because I feel like this is one of those words everybody's using now and I don't 100% know what it means. But I feel like I'm an empath. Like, I'm one of those people that if you're hurt, I'm hurt. If I hurt your feelings, it hurt me that I hurt your feelings. Like, I feel the feelings of everyone. So it really bothers me if I think I've hurt someone's feelings. So while I do think that I am very honest and I am very direct, I think I'm also careful to not say it in a hurtful way, because that would keep me up at night. Like, if I know that I really hurt someone by something I said, that would really bother me. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm thinking sometimes you need to let that shit go because things need to be said. And sometimes feelings get hurt. Like, again, like guys, like this isn't daycare. This is life. Feelings get hurt sometimes. My feelings get hurt, but I just wouldn't, like, I do think I have that extra filter, you know, when people talk about before you say something, I know I'm going to fuck it up, but it's like, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind or something like that? Like, I do think about that. Like, is what I'm saying to you true? Yeah. Is it necessary for me to say this to you? And is it kind for me to say this? You know, I just had a conversation the other day about just because something is true doesn't mean it needs to be said.
Yeah, I think maybe I could appreciate that a little bit more. Because so a great example in the personal arena is that if I have a friend who asks me what I think, and I think we've talked about this on other episodes, even if they don't ask me, like, what do you think, Christina? If they're just complaining about a problem they have or something that happened, I need to know, are you telling me this to vent or are you telling this to me because you want my opinion about it? Because I have in the past assumed that they wanted my opinion about it, and sometimes they just don't. And sometimes my opinion isn't to agree with them. And I've had people get upset about that. And my response was always, well, if you're going to ask me for my opinion, you're going to get my opinion. If you're looking for me to agree with you, then I'm not going to, that's just not how I roll. I'm not going to just agree with you because you want me to agree with you. So if you don't want my real opinion, don't ask for it. And I will say, you know, I really do try to deliver in a respectful and delicate way.
Yes.
But if you ask for my opinion, I'm going to give you my opinion. So don't get mad if I'm not agreeing with you.
Well, I think that I've learned that over the years as well, that, you know, and I'm not going to get into the sexism of male versus female traits, but I do think sometimes as women, we do want to just talk and be listened to. We don't necessarily want, you know, corrective action or suggestions or here's what you should do. And you and I've talked about this before, Christina, that like it might be an occupational hazard, that as attorneys, our first go-to is to fix. Yeah. So someone comes to me with a problem and I go, okay, here's what we're going to do. And a lot of times people really just want you to listen. They don't want you to solve the problem right now. They don't want your opinion. So I think it's great that, you know, to qualify a little bit and go, okay, you're telling me this story. Do you want a solution to this problem or do you really just want me to listen to you right now? Like, are you just trying to get it out? And I think most people that are honest might, you know, and I've absolutely had people like pause and go, I really think I just want you to listen to me right now. And I go, okay, that's fine. Typically, because while I do try to be nice in the way I say things, I can't always fix my face. So sometimes,
me too.
So sometimes like the story is happening and I'm like, okay, you know, and they know, they're like, all right, you're making a face. Like, I need to know because you don't think I handled this right. And I'm like, I mean, it's not how I would have handled it, but okay, you know. But I also think there's a difference between, you know, when you're saying you give your opinion and you're not going to agree to agree. I'm not saying I do that either. Like, I'm not going to spare your feelings by agreeing with you. But I do think that I can give my opinion, and I do sometimes worry about delivering it in a way that I don't think will be hurtful to you. So like, by way of example, if somebody comes to me and they go, hey, you know, do you think that I'm too fat? Something like that. That, you know, if you're just like, yeah, that's going to be a hurtful response, right? I mean, and I would probably try to be more diplomatic about it. Like, I would say, no, I don't think that you're too fat. Do I do think that you can focus on your health a little bit more? And maybe we could think about some ways to do that? Then yes. Or I might throw back on them and be like, well, you're asking me this question, so you must think you're too fat. Why are you asking me this? You know, I mean, but I think that you can be honest with someone, but still be kind. But I do think that there are like spectrums to it. And I know for me personally, I think that sometimes I'm too concerned with being kind to my own detriment, which is a problem because I can't put other people before me. But I do think that I grew up just where we started at the beginning in this societal, you need to be nice. Be nice, Robin. Don't say that. Be nice. Like even as a kid, we're constantly telling kids to be nice. Oh, don't say that. No, you need to be nice. Be nice to your brother. Be nice to your sister. Be nice to the neighbor. So I do think I have internalized so much the importance of being nice that, I have to let that go as an adult a little bit to say sometimes you can't be nice. And if you're not, or somebody doesn't feel that you're being nice, and for that reason they don't like you, it's their loss. Because that's just going to be days and days of future Mr. T bling that they're not going to get because they've cut me out of their life. So you know what? Fine.
I love your Mr. T bling.
Nordstrom Rack, guys.
Nordstrom
Mm-hmm.
Rack. Nice.
Yes.
Is there any Bubble Bar there?
I don't know.
That brand? Which I
think there is. I think there is.
Good.
I don't know.
Okay. I like Bubble Bar. So I don't know. I mean, I think I'm just starting to hate the word nice because it's like, why does everybody have to be so nice all the time? Why? It's just exhausting. Maybe it's because I sometimes equate nice with being fake.
Well, I think it depends on your definition of nice. I don't think nice is a bad thing. I don't want to be in a world of mean people. I don't want to live in that world where everybody's like, fuck you too, fuck you harder. Well, maybe that is nice. That's a different episode.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Guys, I feel like it always comes back to something dirty with me, and I apologize. I don't really apologize, but such is life, right? But I don't want to be in this world of mean people. I want people to care. I want people to be kind. I want all of those things. But I think it's how we define nice. I think you can be nice and maybe there's a difference between being nice and being kind. I don't know. But you don't have to be a pushover. You don't have to be weak in order to be nice. I think when we're equating it with those things of you're basically just being a wet noodle, you're giving everybody else what they want. You're putting their feelings above yours. If that's your definition of nice, then no, I don't want to be that either. But I also don't want to just be in a world of people that don't give a shit. That's not a place I want to live.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's funny, Bettina said that she doesn't want to be nice anymore either. It's exhausting. And I get that. I think that maybe what Bettina means too, and you can let us know, is it's like if it can feel fake at times. It can just feel like you're not being authentic. And I think it's only, whatever the case may be, if you're not being your authentic self, and you're pretending to be something else, it's exhausting.
Well, but then that's my question, right? So if we're talking about authenticity, and I do think that there is something about being real, right? Like people want the real you. They want the authentic you. So if I'm saying that I'm struggling because I feel that I'm too nice, but that's the authentic me, aren't I being fake by not being nice? I'm not being the real Robin. The real Robin wants to be nice. The real Robin cares how you feel. The real Robin, that's the person that I am. That is my authentic self. I don't think that you have to be fake to be nice. If I really care how you feel, why pretend that I don't? If you're somebody that's close to me, I think it's different, like sprinkling niceness around to people that don't deserve it. But I think that if that's who you are, then that's just who you are. I had a conversation with a friend recently, and she was really upset, right? She was really upset because she's a nice person, and she's nice to people, and she's caring, and she's giving, and she will give you the shirt off your back. That's how she is. And I feel like in many ways I'm the same way. If you said to me, Robin, I need this from you, whatever you need. If you're someone who's close to me and I care about you, I will give you whatever you need. I am that way, often to my detriment. If I have $500 to my name and you tell me you need $499, I will give it to you. That's the person that I am. And that's the part that I try to work on, is that sometimes I shouldn't be doing it to my own detriment. But what I said to her was that she was upset because she felt that she had been taken advantage of. That, she was being really nice. She was being the person that she is. And she goes, you know what? I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to be a bitch. And that's what I'm going to do. And I said to her, you know what? Here's my philosophy on that. And this may come off a little pie in the sky, right? I say, I don't let other people's actions change the person that I am. If I'm a nice person and that's who I am, I'm going to be that nice person. I'm not going to let the fact that you're shitty make me shitty. Now, it may change the way I treat you. It may change the way I interact with you, or I may choose not to interact with you at all. But I would rather cut you out than change the person that I am. I'm not going to be a shitty person just because you are. And I think that, and I kind of said that to her because I said, don't be upset with yourself for being a nice person. That's who you are. And don't let those people change you. You continue to be a nice person. You don't have to be that way to them, or you don't necessarily have to interact with them. And you may change the way you behave towards them, but just don't change you. And that's kind of where I think the balance has to be. I don't think I want to change the person that I am, but I do think that I want to change maybe giving that kindness to people who don't deserve it. Maybe that's the difference.
Yeah. And I want to say something. I want to comment on what Bettina said, because I have another similar point. She says, but does not being nice mean you're a bitch? And I think that's I think it's a good question, because I think maybe the difficulty that we're running into is if you're going to be nice, is it at the exclusion of all these other qualities? Like, why can't you be nice, but also be assertive? Why can't you be nice, but also be honest and tell somebody what you really think? Why can't you be nice, but also offer constructive criticism? You can do both things at the same time. And I feel like some of this conversation kind of assumes that you can't, that if you give someone criticism, you're not being nice. Or if you say no to the person who wants to borrow $500, that you're not being nice. And
yeah, I think that you can do both. And I personally think that's why when I said, I don't want to live in a place of mean people, right? And I don't necessarily see nice as a negative thing. I think that sometimes it has a connotation of you're weak and you're dishonest and you're fake and you're all of these things. I don't think that it has to be that, which is why I'm okay being nice. I think that I can be nice and still be honest. I can be nice and be assertive. I can still be nice and offer constructive criticism. I feel that I do all of those things, but I still think that if somebody asked me to describe myself, I would say I'm nice. I think most people would say I'm nice.
You are nice, except for when you're bitchy. Just kidding.
Except for when I'm bitchy. But at the same time, I think that we're kind of using bitchy for the way that I would talk about being assertive. I can be nice, but still go up to you and say, look, these things need to happen. And this is not this is not negotiable. This is what I need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's mean. Because I'm not necessarily saying, F you, you're an idiot. I think that you can say things in a kind way, but still be assertive and still be honest and still stand up for yourself and still not be a pushover. I don't think that I would want anything construed in this episode to think that there's only hot and cold. There's either you're nice and you're a pushover, or you're a complete bitch on wheels, or you're an asshole, or you're a douche, or whatever whatever. There can be. I'm just trying to come up
keep
with
going, Robin. Keep going.
Right. I'm good at insults. If you want to come up with bad things to call people, I'm great at that. But I don't think that there's, just those two ends of the spectrum. I think you can be nice and still have those good qualities. And I also think that you can be a bitch and have good qualities too. Yes. I think you can do all of it. You can be whatever you want to be.
I think that was a good response to what Steve said, is that some people, I can hear myself there. Some people will take advantage of a nice and kind person, but that doesn't mean you should stop being nice and kind. So, I think for me, the nuance there is that why will they take advantage of the nice and kind person? Because you can still be nice and kind and not be a doormat. You can still be nice and kind and be assertive. So if someone's taking advantage of you, they're taking advantage of you with your help, right? You're letting them take advantage of you. And
you can still set the boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. And I think maybe that's the difficulty that a lot of people run into, because people think, well, if I say no when someone asks me a favor, or if I tell Robin that I hate that dress she has on when she asks me about it, then I'm not being nice. And that's really just not true. That's just not the case. Or when Christina asks me to read the first 3 chapters of her book and I think they're really shitty, is it not nice to tell her that? So
I think it's not nice to not tell you that.
Me too. I mean, I think it's in the delivery. If you're like, right, Christina, I don't think you should write this book. I mean, those were like the worst 3 chapters I've ever read in my entire life. Like, okay, we don't need to go that far. You could just say, I think maybe you need to revise them. I didn't like how you kept bringing up that one thing.
That was 15 minutes of my life I'm never getting back.
Yeah, got nothing out of that.
you don't need to say that. But I think again it's kind of going down to definitions, right? Of what we consider nice and what we I think maybe the word just has a bad connotation, because we're all saying that you can be other things. Bettina's saying that you can be kind, caring, loving, encouraging. Some people would just call that nice, right? But to you, nice means I'm being a people pleaser, right? But if that's the definition to you, then hell no, you shouldn't be nice if that's your definition. But if my definition of nice is that I'm kind, caring, loving, encouraging, if that's my definition, then I can continue to be that. I think we just need to define the good and the bad of everything that we do and extract the good of it, extract the positive things out of it, and then get rid of the negative. All of the people pleasing and the fakeness, or the weakness that some people associate with being nice. We can, get rid of those parts and then keep the good, the love, the encouragement, the kindness. We can keep that because the world needs it. For the love of everything holy, there's enough shit in this world. We all need some kindness.
We sure do. And Lisa just said that societal constraints placed especially in women, you're either nice or a bitch. Totally agree. We actually have had an entire episode on that very topic. I think we might have called it the bitch episode.
We did. And you should listen to it because it was amazing. Yeah. And I don't want to hear any constructive criticism otherwise. Listen to the episode and then come back and tell us how amazing it was.
Yeah, that's right. Well, this seems like a natural place for us to end our conversation today.
It does, because I have Chinese food coming in like 15 minutes.
I feel like we need like a big gong or something to signify the end of the show. Or like a cowbell. We could get cowbell off of Amazon probably, right?
I'm getting a fucking cowbell. Let me tell you guys something right now. By the next time, and I say the next time because I want to remind you guys that we're going to be on hiatus next Wednesday. We are not going to be live. Wipe your tears. It's okay. We will not be live with you next Wednesday. So that means by the following Wednesday, I should have a goddamn cowbell.
That's right. That's
Amazon Prime. It is on and popping. Yes, John, I also need more cowbell. I need more cowbell.
We need more cowbell. See, a brilliant idea was born right here. You all witnessed it.
Oh, I can't
wait. A shame bell. That's a good idea. What would that sound
like Game of Thrones, like shame, shit. Oh my, I want one of those. I'm going to walk through the office just yelling shame at people. Is that nice?
We have, probably not. But like I said, they just need to all get over it. So what would that sound be like when someone just says something really awful? It can't be the cowbell. The cowbell is like
cowbell is positive. Cowbell is 100% positive. I don't know. We're going to work on this, guys. I mean, we have 2 weeks to get back to you on these things, and we're going to come back to you with answers because, as you know, we always solve all of life's problems here on the Shit Talking Podcast.
We do. We got it all together here, all of us. See, we collaborate and we come up with some good shit.
So don't miss us so much next week. Don't miss us too much, Peanut Gallery. We're going to miss you, but we will be back in 2 weeks.
Yes, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Yes, happy Mother's Day, everyone. Enjoy. And everybody take care of your mother. If your mother is no longer here, take care of her in heaven, give your
Or
prayers.
if you
and
happen to have 2 dads, take care of them too.
Take care of everyone.
They're like
Be
moms
nice to
too.
right. Take this Mother's Day, just take care of everyone. Be kind to
Be
everyone.
nice. Just be nice.
Yes, be nice, damn it.
All right, kids. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will see you in 2 weeks at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Toodles.
Bye.